and I'm the division chief in the fire marshal's office for the city of Jackson. And basically, I'm here today because I did do a little walkthrough to the library, and I'm here to tell you what I found. It's a little rattling because due to the water damage that you have in this building, a lot of things I would say can happen because of this. I'm just going to say it like this. When you think of water damage and you think of this building, the structure, the stability of this building weakens. And me, myself, being that I'm a fire marshal, I'm into what you call fire prevention. I'm trying to be proactive. So when I see these things, I look out not only for the public, for the guys that have to come into this building if anything of the worst was to happen. So from what I've seen, let's just say the worst happened here. And 9 times out of 10, it may happen in the middle of the night. So my main concern is the structure of this building. And we know the power of water. We may think small of it at times, but when it comes to that, my main thing is the structure of this building. Not to say what can cause the fire, with the leakage, the circuits. Water, when it comes to those leakage, can hit any kind of circuit and anything can happen. You know, I always like to just say the worst. We don't want the worst to happen, but sometimes the worst do happen. And basically also saying that when you think about this, let me start over. I went to the 3rd floor, and you have settling of water up there. And because of the moisture on the 3rd floor, it's causing your fire alarm system to operate into trouble. All right, the trouble don't necessarily mean that the fire alarm system is not going to work, but that trouble signal is there for a reason. And in order to correct that, I was told that the moisture have to be gone. And as you know, lately it has been raining. And you can see around us now, when I look at this, we know what water can cause, whether it's mold or whatever it may be. And to be honest with you, if this was any other location, I would definitely recommend that no one even be in this building at all due to that fact, because of the damage to the building. And like I said, I'm not a building constructor, you know, I'm just a code enforcement. But I can tell and I know that when it comes to water, you have structural stability. And we don't know how much damage has been done. And like I said, I really feel that we shouldn't have anyone in this building at all, not even on the 1st floor, and definitely not on the 2nd floor. I don't know who all we need to talk to or who I need to discuss this with, but I do feel that the library should not be open at all. And because, like I said, because there's a whole lot of code violations that I can go down and I can leave that will cause it not to be open. I probably would feel better if this building was sprinkled. We talk about water, but basically on the fire side, I would feel better if it was sprinkled, because if there was a fire to break out, 9 times out of 10 sprinklers does their job and they will put it out. But when we look at the on-time leakage of this property, my main concern is really the stability of it. You know, we don't know what can happen at any time. And think about it, if you have a structure that's weak and you have fire to make it a little weaker, we're looking at a collapse. So basically, that's why I'm here to stress the fact that I don't think anyone should be in this building at all, as far as people reading books, employees, whoever it may be. So, go ahead.
Okay, I have 5 things to ask you based on what you said.
All right.
My first question is, did you just voluntarily come for this walkthrough, or were you invited?
A little bit of both. And I'll tell you why. I've been here before. I was here last year. And I saw the same thing last year. And we actually did a write-up on this building for those things to be corrected. And I can tell you from last year that I've been here, it has gotten worse.
Okay, who did you write the letter to?
Who did I write the letter to,
Yeah.
I did my annual inspection. It
Okay.
wasn't a letter that was
Okay.
written, it's in my, annual inspection. If you actually, feel free to ask for a copy of that, I can get it to you, last year's inspection of this property.
Okay, so you did an inspection, did our library director get a copy of that inspection?
I should have, I don't know if she got a copy, but the person who I walked with got a copy. Like I said, it's from last year.
Okay, so if we're in a building, the library is, is sponsored by the city as well as the county. I don't think that, you know, what you're saying is good, but I think the city should be notified about this because I don't know if we don't have the money to do all the things that you said about a sprinkler and everything else.
Well,
And you feel like.
I didn't say install.
Okay, I'm
I
just
said I
saying, but
safer
you
if
feel
it was
safer, and I would too, in a building like this, and in an area where we are, I would feel much safer. But my concern is, the city should know about where we are located right now. So somebody needs to inform the city, or does the city know anything about this?
Well, when I leave here, I would address, my chief about the outcome of this, and then we will be sitting down with, city officials to let them know what's the problem.
Because you're standing here, and you see this big thing here that's been hanging here for years. Yeah, and so nothing has been done about that, so.
And you have ceiling tile, Miss.
Yeah, exactly,
with
so.
the dirt, yes.
We, as a board, we really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we're not told, we don't know. We see this, but unless we know something about your report. And I like to recommend from this day forward, since the library staff, from the director on down, is under the board, that the board receive a copy of your report as well. The board needs to know when you come in here, what you found, and what recommendations that you make in order for us to make any kind of recommendation to the city.
Okay. Is there any way I can get an email to everybody on board?
Yeah.
I would have a problem with, sending you a copy of.
And see, the dilemma we got is, we don't own this building, the city do. And we're not responsible for any physical repairs, according to state law.
Okay, my question, the city owns the building?
The city owns the building.
So, are you all like leasing the building?
No, we're just occupants of the building as, the library. The city and the county is responsible for the library system in the city and the county.
Well, my recommendation is actually for no one to be in the building, period. So that's something that I guess I would have to discuss.
Right.
With them, to be honest with you. Like I said, being the job that I do, I try my best to be proactive.
Right.
Because, you know, we always react after the worst
And
happens.
it's too late.
Yeah, so, you know, that's why I tell you, that's why I told you, I like to think of the worst, you know, so.
And hope for the best.
Yeah, right. So, you know, anything under the worst, we good. So, you know, that's how I feel about that.
I just want to make a comment. The changes that we're seeing have happened mostly upstairs since September. Those walls were not wet with water dripping down them. This rain has accelerated a process. I do know the city has already made plans to move the city printing out, and the county has apparently also picked a new location for the Emergency Operations Center. But we've seen more changes over the last 3 to 4 months to the point where it's almost shocking when you see what's happening.
Will you be doing a written report, or have you already done a written report?
Well, the one I did was like I said, last year. So we normally do them annually. So if you all want an updated report, what I would do is I would actually come by and I'll take pictures also. And then, like I said, I can have email everyone here a copy of what I find and actually the code violations along with it. If you, a lot of people don't understand like the code language, so you can look it up yourself and see where it comes from. But like I said, when you think about it on the fire side, the library don't have a whole lot of code violations. It's just the water, I know it's because of that, the damage, the unseen damage that water line can happen. So, and when you think about all these exits that is taped up, crossed out, that's not a good thing either. Because we need to have that egress. Because you never know when there's an exit that may be blocked due to something else. And when you can't make an exit, bad things happen. So that's one major concern, is the exits here.
As you make your report to the city and to the county, it is also the board's responsibility to contact those same people. Because when the deal go down and it gets out there to the public, it's gonna be bold. But if the board doesn't know, there's nothing that we can do about it. So we certainly would appreciate any time that you're in any library that under the board, that we get a copy of whatever you have so that we can follow up and see that code and things are followed. And we all know that it's in bad shape.
Yeah, but we didn't have these kind of problems last year.
I can send you emails.
Oh, you
Okay,
can?
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I have emails.
If you recall, the board did ask me to contact him to discuss whether or not the staff over at the Hills could be moved back into this building. So that was the original reason he asked me.
And the issue was last year,
We should have known whatever had gone down, that we could,
I'm
that
making,
we could work with. So you're gonna get it to us, so that's, it needs no further discussion.
Yeah, what I do, I just come back, if not tomorrow, and actually do a thorough, inspection. And give them, once I see the emails, I will email everyone. And like I said, also, I'm gonna get with my chief, in which we're gonna get with the powers that be of the city and go from there and, come up with a conclusion. All right? Anybody
We
have
have a
questions?
gentleman back here.
yeah, I'm in charge of maintenance here, and last year when we were given a report from y'all, and anything that we were asked to fix, we fixed because we wouldn't have been allowed through Dick Cheney, the insurance, because he's the one who shut down the second floor and allowed us to go back up. Or yes. So anyhow, you know, we did follow up, and I believe that should be in the files, because I had to fix anything that they said needed fixed. So it has progressively, probably within the last 4 months.
Like I said, my main concern is
Yeah.
the exits and
I still want them to figure out that.
the unseen things that's probably here. So that's fine,
So if you were a school teacher giving out a grade on this building, what would you?
yeah.
I'm retired, I would give it a
I give you a chance to make it up though.
Extra credit.
Right. That's what, like I said, when
How can you make it up?
I do want to recognize the maintenance crew, which comes up here nights, weekends, anytime it rains, and they empty 16,000 gallons of water a day out of this building to keep the building dry. And they've been doing that for the past several years. They use some
I was
pumps.
here for 36 hours. one
So
week.
basically what I'm hearing from y'all, really the ball actually lies with the city.
The city owns the building.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you much.
Well, I lean on them. See if they lean back.
Right, appreciate that.
Okay, then. Y'all have a nice evening, all right? Thank you.
You too.
All right, sure.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to, I'd like for the public to hold their comments until the board has get ready for public comment. We need to, all day and all night. So that's why we don't have to go on.
Okay. So now, we have all reviewed the agenda. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have an approval of the agenda? Are there,
I
Any corrections?
I wanted to mention a couple things that you brought up the last, on the agenda, that we just kind of, we've discussed this once before, we never did anything about it. This is a recent thing, the video thing. I think Chester Ray is gonna be here before long. We have said in the minutes that he was gonna check on the viability or whatever,
Okay.
of allowing video to be done here in the meeting. And Rick just made a comment in the email that we never have approved that, so I think as a board, we probably should put that in or approve it. The second thing is we ran into a jam in December because we didn't have any money to fall back on. Jackson had given us $60,000 and we were supposed to get $166,000 a month. So out of about $480,000 we should have gotten, we got 60. So that put us in a bind when it came to payroll in December. So I think we need to look at that county, and I can't remember the name of it, it's got roughly $400,000 on it, and see what it would take to get at least half of that money and do what we said we were going to do in 2018, and put that in the account. For any money that had to be removed, that had to be voted on by the board, but have it there kind of, because they have said before, that's an emergency or catastrophe money. Well, in December, we had it. And we didn't need to wait 5 days for somebody to vote, at a meeting to give us the money. Another thing is I'm very concerned, if you go back on the March 2019 minutes, and see how we voted, I'm not sure we have proper board leadership. I think we missed the chance. It's not too late, I suppose. But we really need to discuss whether or not we have a second term available for folks that were board officers last year. Because I don't think in March, according to the minutes that we voted on, that though that was voted on and that wouldn't change. So I think we're sitting here really without voted on leaders. And we need to probably make that, change that as quickly as we can. And that's of utmost importance, I think. That was the three things I thought we needed to discuss.
The other thing, I think that we might need to move, I was totally embarrassed at our last meeting, that we had guests. We didn't know who the guests were. And the guests went through all of our meeting. And under normal circumstances, you would not allow people like that to sit through your meeting. And as old folks say, you don't do your dirty laundry. And we had these people sitting here, we didn't know who they were, why they were sitting here. And I like to suggest from here on out, first I like to suggest, I know we have that issue to take care of, that particular issue be dealt with before we go into the business for today. And if there are people associated with that agency or that business, that person could leave. They do not need to sit through. And from here going forward, I would suggest if we have people that are coming, that the board be notified up front that these people are here, and they be given an opportunity to do whatever they're supposed to do, and they be given an opportunity to leave.
Right, I agree.
But we didn't, I really didn't know what they said.
But our meetings are open to the public unless we are in executive session, so anybody can come in and attend if they want to.
If we are doing business,
Right.
I report again, I'm say again, if we are doing business, those people sitting there was here to do business with the board. They sit through the whole meeting. I don't need to discuss it, I'm just making a recommendation that we shouldn't, they should not have to sit through us to hear our discussion.
Yes.
That they should have been up front, they should have taken care of that business, and they should have left. You know, I don't care if the puppy comes, if he wants to come and be a part of it. But I don't think that we ought to, that type of thing should happen.
Do we
They
have
were on the
anybody
agenda.
here
They
today?
were on the agenda and the agenda got shifted around.
We only had the fire chief today.
The fire chief, the only person, only visitor we got. Everybody else is employees. or consultants, or whatever?
The public.
Public.
The public.
Public.
Yeah.
Public.
Okay.
So I ask you to, I like the motion or just a recommendation, and it doesn't have to be a whole long drawn out anything, that we consider it.
Madam Chair, I want to make a comment on one of the items that was mentioned. I was here 2 years ago and last year, and I do recall us voting on officers for the board. So I'm at the presumption that we are legally placed in place as board officers, with Mr. Jones being the chair, Ms. Gardner being vice chair. I was here, so I do know for a fact that we did vote on our officers. So I'm kind of lost at what Mr. Nations is talking about.
Well, the officers have a one-year term based on the bylaws.
No, excuse me. Okay. What happened was, we did change that, and I have those minutes here somewhere where
They're
it was
March.
changed.
Within the March minutes of last year,
For some reason, it did not make it into the minutes, but we did
We did
vote
change.
on making the change where an officer would run for 2 years.
3 years.
And we indicated the reasoning for that. It did not make it into these minutes. And I don't understand why, other than the fact I think both Miss Patty and Miss Judith were out.
well, it did
And
make it,
somebody else was taking the minutes.
there were some minutes that were,
Ma'am,
We were here.
It's in the minutes.
there were minutes that were, they're from March of 2019, and it was, first off, there was no quorum. We had 6 people here and 6 people that were not here. That's the first problem. And second off, there were, I think, 5 issues that were brought forth as to what bylaw changes there were. And the 2 issues that we voted on, one was that the secretary would take minutes, and 2, that we move meetings from Wednesday to Tuesday. But the other items, we never voted, there was never a motion, there was never a second, there was never voted on. So, back, if you remember in October, well, I got
Was
it.
he here then?
okay.
Back in October, we,
Was he on hold?
you know, there was supposed to be a nominating committee, and it was struck from the old business. And it said, you know, this is taken care of, and this will be done later in the year, but I think, what I think we should do is, in fact, he's right on time, is I think we should ask Ms. Bethany and Mr. Jones there to take a look at the minutes and to read what they've got and to read the bylaws and for them to interpret for us whether or not we're in good shape. There are 2 attorneys that are on the board. If the 2 of them get together and come up with a decision, I say we're in good shape.
Miss Judith, did you have something to say? Because she did call me to clarify the minutes after. Now, why it didn't make it to the minute, I don't understand.
Well, it actually did. Here's the second set of minutes actually will serve a term of 2 years. But the minutes that we approved, there was no quorum, first off. And second off, those items, that particular item was never mentioned. And this is not trying to knock somebody out of office, because you can run again and have a second term. But it's simply that you don't have a 2-year term at this particular point in time, based on doing things in the manner that they're supposed to be done.
We
What
will-
month was this? This was March what?
March of 19, last year.
You should have my food. Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we send this item to Mr. Jones and Ms. Bethany to examine and come back with a report.
I second
We
it.
need to, I think we need to go back further, than that. We need to go to October know
Because
somewhere
October's
down
when
there
we do
because
the
that's
election.
When the nominations start.
Yeah.
that's
Nominations
when the
start in
nominations
September.
start. And what have you.
Because usually October's when we begin our year.
Yeah. October, yeah.
Okay.
She didn't have us all the minutes, so.
What you're saying, you need them today, the bylaws were
Now,
revised.
we did discuss
Last
it
spring.
Right.
over at, over
Have a motion on the floor?
all right.
That's second too.
It is so
Second.
moved.
I'm sorry, I was busy past this.
I made the motion.
And I second
That.
We send this item to Mr. Jones and Ms.
it.
Bennett
Good review.
to review.
Okay.
Is this the 20?
Is there any discussion, I like for that, whatever is being proposed, be stated, be stated, and before a vote on the motion is made, I need to know what's being asked to be done.
Okay, the motion that was being made was that we allow you and Miss Bethany, Miss Attorney Jones and Attorney Bethany, to review our minutes from March and
2018.
2019.
2019.
They're right here, so.
And do what?
And determine whether we have a quorum or not. And whether or not if we passed the, there was some bylaw changes that were brought forth, and whether we voted on the bylaw changes that were, which ones we voted to approve and which ones were not voted on. And how that affects our current board meeting, if it affects it at all.
Ms. Judith, do you have all of the, minutes
How far you going
like
back?
this, or just this particular packet?
Just that particular.
Why?
Why? Why all of a sudden?
I'm gonna carry these around with me.
Just these?
Well, this is the March meeting.
I understand that, but there's a reason why if I ask you for January 2019, would you have it?
Not with me.
If I ask you for May of 2019, would you have it?
No, I don't have.
Just these? That's all I know. Why just these?
I cannot recall. but
Were you instructed to bring these?
Several months ago, Chairman Jones asked me to bring copies of those minutes because this matter has come up before. And he wanted to have copies of the minutes and the documents. So I got them together and offered them to him several times, and we just never got into that. But I approved them every meeting.
Okay.
It's in the minutes from October where,
I understand that, but maybe you don't understand the reason.
I understand
I'm asking
exactly
the
what you're saying.
question. Yeah. Let's move on. I'm finished with this. Okay, my motion.
Could I repeat the motion? Would someone repeat it? The motion is for trustee Jones and trustee Bethany to,
Reverend Daniels made a motion
yes,
that we allow Attorney Jones and Attorney Bethany to look at the minutes.
the March minutes.
The March minutes.
Okay.
Well, right,
And review it.
Okay, thank you. Did you vote?
amended bylaws proposed.
Madam Chair, before we vote, let me make an observation. I just heard somebody over there say something, and it never dawned on me. If we, according to Mr. Nations, we didn't have a quorum, and if that's the case, then everything that passed that day is null and void.
should we meet on Wednesday instead of Tuesday?
No. Everything that passed, that means every dollar spent.
That's
Do
where I've got.
you understand what I'm saying?
That's where I've
Am I
got.
right?
That's where I've got concern.
Every dollar spent
Everything
that was
we-
passed in these minutes
Well,
are null and void.
from October 1 forward, because that's when our year starts. That's what my concern is, and we should all be concerned as board members.
Those are the dangerous waters that we're stepping into now. Technically. nothing is legit.
This was brought up in our October meeting.
Everything pertaining to these minutes.
Okay. Do you have the October minutes?
I do not have them with me, but I will be happy to send them to you. Would you like me to send them to all of you? Everybody?
Please.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay. He just asked that I would say. Okay. And
Madam Chair, I recommend us that agenda, we approve the discussion that take place.
And not the motion to change the date of the meeting, because according to these minutes, I wasn't here. But I made a motion to change the date of the meeting from Wednesday to Tuesday. So these minutes are not correct if that's the case.
Okay. So we are putting number of, okay.
The April minutes showed there were no questions about who was here or if there were any changes to the March minutes, so they were approved.
So we need to erase report too.
Yes.
Yeah, all the other ones.
Let's get that out the way.
Okay, so that's new business. So, Attorney Jones and Bethany review these minutes. And apparently it looks as if they will be reviewing minutes from October for a full year.
Exactly.
We need to go back and look at all the minutes.
From October 19th,
Ma'am?
October of 19.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd say September and October, because you have, the nominating committee was on the agenda both times and didn't make the cut. And then there was discussion in October concerning about it not making the cut, but it was thrown to the side, and that's when Ricky said, I know there was a quorum there, I made sure of it, but it was never voted on.
We did vote on it, but it was not captured in the minutes.
Sit there and put it, sit up in this presence.
It'll be fine if we have, because then like Reverend McDaniel says, that means everything we've done since October 1 is good. But if not, it's not so good.
Yeah, all the money spent.
All right.
Put it back.
That's right.
My recollection for what it's worth of the March meeting was that the bylaws, the amended bylaws came up at the very end of the meeting. People were getting up to leave. And you had time to vote on those two things. You wanted to change the meeting date and you wanted to change the secretary thing, but you didn't vote on the entire bylaws. Everybody was leaving. You voted on just those two things. And there were only 6 of them. I will be quiet now.
I just don't see it's not voted.
Okay.
See that.
Didn't happen.
Well, we will table that until we get all of the minutes, all right? And then we'll make a decision as to what we are to do. Right now, I would like to vote on our minutes of our last meeting.
Excuse
Well,
me,
there's no need to vote.
one question, you said until we get all our minutes, how many minutes are you talking about, how far back? From March up until now?
No, from October.
Okay.
October.
Okay.
November, December, January, February.
March.
They're all on the website. So
They on the website?
Yes.
we upload it to the website immediately, as soon as they're. This is the opening page.
Come back, you know, sometime ago, I asked why certain things weren't in the minutes. And we were told that they were not in the minutes because of waiting on the agenda.
That's right.
Then I said, he said, during the meeting, it's not on the agenda that needs to be in the meeting, you said that.
You said,
Okay.
December 3rd.
You don't need to give me one.
All right. Our next issue is
Did y'all vote on that motion?
old
Should table.
business.
I'll
Okay,
table.
do I have approval of our agenda item?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for business for today.
Okay, I would like to add one thing to the agenda, and that is the issue of hiring an attorney. I would like to add that one. And that's old business under Byron Library. I have here okay. A
That's all.
proposal,
That's on item number 8. On the chair committee report,
committee report.
ad hoc committee.
Okay, legal. Item number 8. Personnel exhibit, okay. The request for proposal for as-needed legal services, and you will note attached to that is Christine Crockett White's deal. We need to approve the request for proposal today, so it can be in our minutes. All right. I would like to just take a few minutes to look at this. The dates that now I have done this more than one time, and everybody needs to be aware. At first, it was, I didn't bring the old ones, but it was stated like the end of February that the proposal would be due. Since we are meeting, there's not enough time for us to let the proposal, and any attorney that want to apply would have ample time to apply. What I'm saying is that the proposal due date is March the 9th. Yes, ma'am.
Something that may be helpful. MLC has informed me that certain professional services, like auditors or attorneys, you do not have to release an RFP.
We do not have to do what?
You don't have to release an RFP. You can hire who you like.
Okay.
Would that make it a little easier?
When
Now, we
did,
passed around
yeah, when did that,
that. Okay, let's finish
Okay.
this. We did a ad back in March, I think, of 19, sometime or another, we did an ad. And we never voted on it. So since we're talking about RFPs, I went back and
so is
This
this
is
is the
a-
RFP you want to put the ad out?
yes,
So moved.
I second.
right. And we have all in favor. Aye. Thank you. Okay. Okay, our next item is,
Under old business, we have banning of Robert Jennings for inappropriate behavior. That's very important.
okay, one other thing I would like to add, please. It's the termination of an employee. That may be
That may come
something.
under executive session. Personnel matters.
Yeah, yeah.
Could we do the E-rate?
If we approve the minutes, yeah.
It's an executive session.
We don't want,
I don't think it's in the minutes yet.
somebody.
Yes, we do.
We just want to add that to our agenda item.
All right, that was it.
We are down to administrative reports. Mr. Jackson.
The minutes? Are we going to do the minutes?
Did we approve the minutes already? Did we
Ma'am?
approve the minutes?
No,
We didn't approve this?
no.
And we didn't add the item of the E-rate. It's on.
It's on the agenda.
I asked at the beginning of the meeting at 4:05 that we move that
She did.
up.
Okay.
We all said yeah.
No, it's not on. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
As far as the minutes, I move that the minutes, that the minutes be approved.
And
I second.
corrected. With addition.
Minutes with the necessary corrections.
What version?
Were there corrections?
For this.
I didn't-
Where did you want to move the E-rate up to?
Yeah.
What item?
Can I ask a minutes question? When we ask for the letter be written, does that go in the minutes, like we say we need to write the city or the county or something like that?
Yeah.
Does that go in the minutes or not?
Yes. It hasn't, it certainly could, but
Well,
it
it
should
seems like it cover our rear end a little bit.
But it would be the next month, because it does take time.
Well, that's fine, but it's just gonna be the next month that we vote on it anyway.
But
It seems like
that,
that would cover our rear end a little bit.
the downside to that is if we have an immediate problem, such as the fact we have no heat currently at our Richard Wright, our Baltimore library, and we have a letter that was written, and it's been written, and it's just waiting. So, you know, if we have to wait till the board approves the letter. the
No, I'm
next
talking about the
month-
board, I know, because we, in the minutes, it said something about a letter being written to the county or city.
I'll be happy, we can put the letters in, certainly.
I think that
But it
might-
does take us a few weeks to get everything written and ready to go.
All right.
Well, it's my understanding that the minutes reflect what has happened in this meeting. So anything that's happened in this meeting that's been approved by the board should be reflected in the minutes.
So we don't worry about the letters, is that right?
We don't, but it should be there that it has been approved by the board to
Yeah,
have
that's what it
the
said, that's what
letter.
it said.
But if it's not mentioned in the minutes, then it didn't happen.
Right.
So we don't worry, so don't worry about it.
The actual letter
All
won't be in it.
what you're saying, right?
What's there is that the board directed that a letter be written.
Yes.
If the letter had been written, that's the problem of the people who have been instructed to do so.
Okay.
Okay, hold up a second. Jackson. Okay, since we're talking about this E-rate contract, Mr. Jones had a question. Is there funding in this E-rate set up for the Clinton Library branch?
Certainly. It
Okay,
covers all 14 branches.
it covers all of our libraries. Okay,
E-rate,
yeah, the E-rate.
does that, what about the River Hills office? Is it included?
Is it included in the E-rate? Shannon?
Okay, so this might help make it easier. There are two parts to the E-rate. There's a category 1. Category 1 is our service provider. This is our internet. That would go for your question about River Hill. We added River Hill not as a way of extending anything, but just we're there at this point in time. This gives us the 90% discount on the cost of the internet there. That can be removed if that is an issue,
It is an issue.
but that decision has to be made now.
I make a motion that we
That
approve.
leaves the library responsible for 100% of the cost as it continues under its current contract, which is 2 more years from March.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
as we recall, River Hills was supposed to be did away with. But a contract was signed after the decision was made by the board.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
That's true.
No, it's not.
The contract was signed without board's knowledge.
It's not true.
I got a copy of the contract after the decision was made to shut the office down.
The contract was approved by the board. It's in the board minutes that it was approved. And if we do not apply for the money for River Hills and we do stay there, then we're gonna pay how much, Shannon, a month?
That's a Justin question.
Justin?
I mean, we're paying about $1,970, that's the discounted rate, so I mean, it'll be double that, if not more, based on the new rate.
So if we do move from there, we just move the E-rate service wherever we go. So, I mean, there's no penalty.
It won't be too bad, because y'all probably be moving back into one of the facilities.
Well, it
If
won't
I
be
got
just-
something to do with it, we're gonna be moving y'all back to one of the facilities. Go on, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so Clinton is included as well as River Hills. All of our library systems are included. Now you want to,
Category 1 covers all of the locations. Category 2, because of changes in how some of the libraries were classified, has affected funding for Clinton and Byram. We are working to get that resolved.
Does it have to be resolved before, the new contract?
No. And the category 2 is more of outside of trying to get an 85% discount on our wireless renewal that we have to do every year. Everything else listed in there is not a planned project. It's kind of a, what if a switch breaks, what if something moves? It's just so that we're trying to cover it so we're not having to pay 100% of something. Those things, I have no intention of purchasing those things listed unless something happens, and those things would be coming to you guys before anything like that would happen, because a switch costs over $5,000.
okay, I think that's what he's looking for here. As far as Clinton being funded.
Yes.
Now you're saying something about category 2.
Category 2 covers your wireless equipment, your switches, your cabling. It covers those types of things. Everything has been done as far as the network overhaul. So anything that happened from this point on would be because something has changed, as in a library has moved or something has broken that is no longer under a warranty. Outside of a yearly renewal for our wireless system, which is like $2,500. That included, wanted that included so that we would get an 85% discount on that, where we're only having to cover 15% of that cost ourselves. Everything else, if you guys say we don't want to do category 2, it's not that, you know, we're good. The main thing is the category 1, we do not want to get stuck paying 100% of $90,000.
Is there any extra cost with category 2?
We are responsible for the approving it or actually using it. Which one are you asking me? To apply for and approve it, it costs us nothing. When we go to use it, We are responsible for 15% of the cost. Does that make sense? Okay.
That's instead of 100.
Instead of 100%. We only have to pay 15%.
There is no downside to this.
Timing windows are the only downside, and paperwork are the only downsides to E-rate. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity for libraries and schools to be able to have high-speed internet that, you know, can carry, I mean, it's just amazing what our internet is doing and the people we are serving every day. And we would not be able to do that without this USAC program.
We serve 221,000 people with our public access computers last year, and 74,000 with our wireless services. And one reason that people come to the library is we have excellent bandwidth and very few interruptions. That's very important. E-rate, we could not afford the bandwidth without E-rate, and it's basically free federal money. Why wouldn't we want to take a 90% deal?
So you're saying that it's 15% versus
100%. On the category 2, on the category 1, it is 10% versus 100%. We are only responsible for 10% of our internet costs, and USAC covers the 90% for us under this program.
I don't have no problem with it. I just don't like, I don't want to keep paying for River Hills when everybody can be in-house and save that money.
That's a separate
Well, you're
issue.
not saving, you won't really be saving any money, I don't think, because you're purchasing a
The
bottle.
whole entity,
A
right?
bottle.
Yeah.
And if we
You're
do,
either purchasing it all, or you're not.
It would
purchasing.
save $359 per month if River Hill is eliminated. But instead of paying 10% of $359 a month, you will start paying the continue paying the $1,000 and extra that Justin mentioned.
well, and you have to remember, if you want to move the offices, each office has to have cabling. We have phones, we have computers, we have copiers. Cabling has to be done in the wall. That's very expensive. We have to have an electrician come, put more outlets wherever we go, so.
Boy, I like to make a motion, since we're talking about.
For point of order, have we approved the minutes yet? I know there was a motion and there was a second, and it's still, and there was discussion. We need to go ahead and approve the minutes with those necessary changes. And then we'll vote. Or whatever changes were suggested.
I thought,
With the change, but it was never voted.
Never voted.
I still didn't hear the change.
What did you
I
say?
made a motion to approve the agenda with any necessary changes.
But are there changes?
She was adding something to the agenda.
You're saying agenda, she's saying
Oh,
minutes.
To the minutes, yeah, to the minutes.
Okay.
Let's vote on it.
moving along.
Did we
Well,
do
we
that?
got-
You have to vote on the minutes.
Vote on it.
The minutes,
Yeah.
the minutes, we have to
All
vote
in
on the
favor
minutes.
of the minutes?
Being approved.
There we go.
Is that everybody? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, minutes been approved.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are back to the E-rate, and based on.
So, the first decision you guys need to make, are we doing it as the bid was written to cover 14 libraries in River Hill? Or are we removing River Hill from this? That's the first thing.
It's only on here once. That's the motion we're talking about.
Right now, we're just, from what Billy, the internet consultant, said, we're just accepting the bid by those two companies. The contract is still being written.
Okay?
So they hadn't, we don't have a contract yet.
No, I didn't understand that until I talked to her this afternoon. You must accept the bids as they were bid, and then our internet consultant will go back, yes.
I have the contracts.
She told me it wouldn't be ready. There were some things in there that needed to be.
It's in here.
Oh,
For somebody.
All the E-rate stuff's in here. It was in emails after you were already
She
in.
said that there were several things in there that she wanted changed, Shannon.
Okay.
I move,
You just accept the bids.
I move
Okay, okay,
that we accept the bid.
right.
And, okay.
All right.
Let's get,
You accept the
All right. It has been moved and properly second that the E-rate bid be accepted. Are there any questions?
one question. What about the contract? We're gonna do that. Somebody from the board is gonna look over the contract as well?
Our consultant will bring the contract back on time. No, we pay a consultant. Much of the language to it is in telecom language, so I'm not even qualified to really look at it, so.
Dr. Strickland, we know telecom language? Okay.
we understand on,
We've honestly never had the board accept the contract in the past because we pay somebody to bring this again. But if you want to bring it back, we will bring it back.
Okay. We are accepting the bid as it's written. And all in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
All right.
and so we depend on.
For the bid.
We
For the
pay
bid.
an internet consultant to look at it and to differ with the company to make sure there's nothing in it that shouldn't be there.
Well, Mrs. Spur, excuse me, Madam Chairman, I think there still is a question of, in terms of the contract, Ms. Spur mentioned a consultant. The board needs to know who that consultant is and what qualifications does that consultant bring in terms of examining what that contract may say, and whether there are any issues or problems in the contract that should be brought to the attention of the board for consideration.
She was here, she and Millie and Tillman Rodabaugh have over 27 years in telecom. They are experts and they handle probably 50 schools and libraries. They're experts at E-rate, and we actually started using them 5-6 years ago, and they have won us over $800,000 in federal E-rate money. They also manage the contract. Shannon helps filing all the paperwork, but it's an enormous paperwork burden. They are eminently qualified, in my opinion, but they were here last month and explained all of that.
They also have a lawyer that they keep on retainer that is in Washington, D.C. to work directly with USAC and the E-rate for them.
Well, my suggestion is, that you explain who you use as a consultant. I would suggest that a brief summary of who they are and what their experience in this E-rate thing is be provided to the board. And I mean in an abbreviated form.
Sure.
So that we'll have some reference to who they are.
Sure.
And when the contract is proposed for acceptance, then we'll know who we have depended on for an opinion.
So they can be
Can
here
I
at the
add
March
to
meeting.
that, with Shannon's experience, that she review whatever has to be accepted, signed, and that out, and advise the board.
Okay.
Okay, you the expert.
So I'm the middleman.
You the main.
We did have them here last month, so y'all could meet them, but I'd be glad to make sure that that information is.
But Shannon is the expert, right?
Shannon is not an expert on E-rate, she's an expert on telecommunications equipment.
Do
That's
you
right.
understand, somebody got to have some experience, understand the contract.
My knowledge base of E-rate is very small compared to Millie and Tillman. But do I understand E-rate as far as what is what and what's going on? Yes.
Thank you.
I called her just out of curiosity about 2 weeks ago because she came and I didn't know I totally understood what she was talking about. basically what it amounts to is we can vote for it and save 90%, or we can not vote for it
Yeah,
and pay
well,
100%. So
That's what I
it
said,
sounds like a good deal to me.
10%
And that
versus.
stack of papers, if you remember, was about that tall, and I know why Ricky was asking that question, because it had a
The
zero. right
E-rate
there.
contract
It was
can
very
be
library.
printed, so.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I got a question. And I'm just gonna make this statement, then we can move on. I'm trying to figure out how is this Mr. Nation's been called and talked to the employee, and they talked. Wait, now, let me finish. I got to get this off my chest. I got to get this monkey off my chest. But when I talk to some employees, we not allowed to talk to y'all. That's all I gotta say. Move on.
Well,
He
first
didn't
off-
talk.
No, I didn't address you.
No,
I did not address
I'm
you.
addressing you.
I'm talking, Chair.
Point of order.
First off, I didn't call an employee. I called the lady from Columbus, Mississippi.
You said you called her.
No,
I said I
no.
called the E-rate person. The lady from Columbus, she sat here for the entire meeting, like Dr. Strickland said. And finally, she made this presentation. If you remember, she brought a stack of papers about that tall. It had all these
Point of order,
proposals.
point of order, point of order.
Well, wait a minute.
Point of order, point of order. Point of order. Say what I had to say. Go ahead.
The 3-month ban of Roderick Jones is extremely important. This is a violent person, and
They haven't voted yet.
That's what I'm
Yes, they have.
So you voted? Yes, they did. That's right, that's right. Sorry,
Yeah, we vote on the E-rate.
sorry.
Outstanding.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
All right. So we are voting that Shannon will review the contract once it arrives, once we receive it. And she will tell us what she sees in it in a subsequent meeting, okay?
Would you like to
Is that
vote on it in the
question?
next meeting?
Ma'am?
Would you like to vote on the contract in the next meeting? We have to have it approved and put in the system probably by mid-March. We've never voted for these contracts in the past because they're so complicated.
Well, the deadline is the 26th of March, and the board won't meet until the 31st if it's still following the last Tuesday
There's
of
a
the month.
deadline for the contract
There is
or
a-
the E-rate.
There is a deadline for E-rate where the contract and everything has to be submitted into the system, and that is March the 26th. March the 4th, Millie will go to the state board to present the contracts and all of that so that the state approves because of the reverse auction waiver that we have, that will finish that part, that will finish everything for us to be able to move forward. And what goes into the system is a intent to purchase. It's not official contract.
It's not an official contract. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I think last month we brought this issue up. March 4th is pushing us against the wall to,
March 4th is March 26th. March 4th is,
well, even
you
March
guys
26th.
accepting the bid is all that needs to happen for March 4th.
Right,
March,
but the contract,
March 26th.
and when do next time we meet?
If you continue to meet the last Tuesday of the month, that will be the 31st.
That's
Fourth
That's
Tuesday.
that's pushing us against the wall.
So you will meet before it's actually the deadline closes. You'll meet on the 24th, the window closes on the 26th.
So they can vote on it.
Yes.
So we'll bring it back next month.
do you have everything you need so we can get 10% versus 100% or 15% plus versus 8%?
Now I have a copy of stuff, the intent to purchase, a rough draft of the Unity contracts, that if you guys want to take those now and you can look at them, and so you will be familiar.
But there are things in the contract that she is objecting to.
That's why I said rough draft.
So I.
Anything that's like, has to be changed is, agreement that follows USAC's terms with the FCC.
Is it nothing that's gonna come back to haunt us, right?
No.
No.
Can we, board members, can we go ahead and vote so that whatever procedure that needs to be taken by Shannon and whomever, that we can get the money, the bottom line?
We have, for discussion, what I'm hearing is that this board is gonna meet on the 24th of March. It doesn't have to be, a vote does not have to be approved until the 26th. So I would be in opposition to make a vote. I mean, I'm just one person on the contract at this point. We have time to do that.
We're not doing the contract now.
That's what we're discussing now.
Those were the terms of bid, right?
We've already approved the bid, so then, and I thought we were moving on. And we said that there was a consultant, and I asked that we get a summary, abbreviated statement about that consultant and who they are and what they have done. So I won't say anything further. I thought that we'd already settled that, but.
Yeah.
I have no problem with bringing a contract next month. There's no reason not to bring a contract, and Millie can come by and if you have any questions, answer them.
Is that a motion?
All right.
So we just,
Can we move forward?
Motion.
Can I have a
Make a
motion,
motion.
okay?
What's the motion?
Contract.
Well, the contract's coming back next month.
She gotta bring it back. Yeah, she gotta bring it back.
what motion do we need?
No motion at all. You know what we just said.
Shannon got us up.
My apologies.
I'm sorry, we, move on.
Go on.
Okay.
All right, how's everybody doing? Good. I handed out 2 documents earlier before the meeting started. Before I start, one long spreadsheet. Mr. Jones had asked that I provide a forecast and cash flow projection till the end of the year, and that's what this is. And this is a real good guide to kind of what's been going on. We just look at that real quick. The first page is double-sided. Rico prints that way. But again, it's just it gives us a solid numbers on how our city funding is coming in. I think we sent out an email with the board packet, but if you look at that very top line, it shows our income and the months that it's coming in. And how I came up with these numbers, the projection, I took the first 4 months and then came up with an average and then used some historical data from the prior year to make sure that my numbers were true to what the library knows to be accurate. So every month this is going to change. As soon as February is done, the average will change and things like that. So these numbers will monthly reflect what's happened in the past, and I'll try to project going forward. The more that happens, the more accurate I can come. So 4 months in, everything looks good. Again, these are my projections, and this is a really good thing. And I'll be doing this every month just so y'all can see any kind of numbers that might kind of come off the wall. But again, I like this and be doing this every month. Also, Mr. Jones asked that I present, we're covering January, but obviously we're almost through with February. So there's a profit and loss from October to February 25th. It's a lot different than what goes out in the mail, but it's not a closed report, so there's entries that aren't going in that you'll see next month, but these are just an idea of where we're at right now. So just kind of what you'll see, kind of a 60% of what's going on. So there's more entries to come, but that's what those 2 are, and kind of just want y'all to see that and be aware of what's going on. So first page is the statement of income and expenses. For the month of January, income of $493,228 against expenses $362,498.62. Again, straightforward month. I can point out anything that anybody has any questions on. I know we don't try to rush, but if anybody has anything that specifically they want to ask, I can send me an email, call me, and I'll take any phone call. But again, I also would like to encourage anybody to look at that spreadsheet. Have any questions, call me on that as well. But if not, we'll move to the balance sheet. Again, $85,743.34. I also printed out something I wanted to hand out. Forgot to do that. We'll talk about being funded and having cash and being able to operate. I think the best way to do that is I just printed out our current balance in our checking account. So here you can see it are one thing. So that's just a printout of our current balance, and so that's as of today.
That's minus almost $400,000 that is our millage money being held by the county.
Again, if any questions on the balance sheet, if not, I'll just keep going. Next is a checklist with total. You can see there's quite a significant amount more checks than there were in the prior meeting. That's because of just with the fluid nature I talked about with funding. And we're able to cut checks right as they come in. The next is the check detail with total. Again, that's just more detail for what each check covers and a little description of the maybe. So if somebody looks at it, they have an idea of what it's done. After that, get some donations report. And that's $15.89 for the month of February. And I've looked back several years and it's around the same amount every year. Obviously, that gets the donations report. Summer months is where we get the huge donations. And I believe that's the full report for me. Any questions?
One.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going back to salaries. Everybody's salaries lumped together. Am I wrong or am I out of order if I ask you to give us a printout of the salaries for the employees here? You don't have to give them by name, just positions.
That's the HR.
Okay.
I may have the,
Okay.
tell me how you need it.
Okay, I need a printout with the positions, actual position and actual amount, salaries. You don't have to put no name, I just need to know the position and the salary, what it is, what they get paid annually.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you do that for me also, plus the vacancies with the salary to go with it?
If you do it, I'll just want to
Yes, if you want to mention where we are with the personnel spending.
Yeah, well, with this report, I can also add some budgetary lines too, and obviously the one I looked at first, I didn't add that column because I had several columns that didn't include, but obviously the salaries and the employments, that's the huge one, and I looked at it first, and we're hitting at roughly 26%, and that's that first quarter, and that's exactly where we need to be. The payroll is about 75% of our major expenses, so again.
When you pass that sheet,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr was saying it did not include something that the county owes us?
Yes, the county is still holding on to almost $400,000 in what they call unallocated fund balance. It's library millage that they are holding on to. I don't believe it's legal, and MLC doesn't believe it's legal. They say it's to help us in an emergency, but when we were in an emergency, it's very tough to get to because it requires a 5-day waiting period and it requires a vote by the Board of Supervisors. It's really our money, and if the board would keep it in a fund that the board could vote to expend the money, it sure would have helped us a lot.
But I think we need to still operate on what we have. Because you cannot,
Well, we are operating on what we have.
you can't make nobody give us some money. So let's just stay Nothing from that meeting, we don't have anything to
I do wonder if we shouldn't ask for those officers.
spend.
So